Hi Arushi.
Hi Priya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. So happy to see you finally.
Same here. So, am I audible? You're audible. You're properly
Yes,
audible.
yes, you're very much audible. Thank you.
So, mothers are joining, parents are joining. So, good evening, everyone. And I welcome you to the live session with Arushi Agarwal, Certified Lactation Consultant. Today evening, we'll be discussing, focusing more on what to expect when you're starting a breastfeeding journey. Yeah, Arushi. So,
So yeah,
yeah. So, as a new mom, when we start out our breastfeeding journey, we literally have no idea what to expect. I myself, my breastfeeding journey when I started out, the first few weeks were a disaster. My mom, when I asked my mom, she simply said, we just started breastfeeding. So the nurse taught us, and then, yeah, it was painful in the beginning, but I think it settles as the days pass by. So we just started breastfeeding. They had no ideas about why is it painful, nor the ideas about the techniques or how they can get it better, and nothing. Even my mother-in-law, the case was the same. So I could literally not expect any help from the women in my family. Thank God that I got some lactation support from the birth center from where I birthed. So I was able to at least survive the first few weeks. Then it got better. It actually got better, and now she is 2 years and 4 months old, but we are still breastfeeding. So the initial days, I think the initial days is so very important because that defines the rest of your breastfeeding journey, isn't it?
yes. So as you rightly said, Priya, that beginning can be a little rocky if you don't expect, what to expect once you deliver. But as you already also said that it's absolutely okay if the start was not so good. It's never too late to start breastfeeding. It is just the only thing where is a matter of concern is that mind block which the mothers start to have. So if the beginning was not as expected, then they start to believe that, oh, breastfeeding is very challenging or probably it's not made for me and my child. Some mothers are a little more determined, they go an extra mile to figure out why. Some mothers give up. So that's the only reason why I focus on preparing during pregnancy. So that firstly, that there is support if at all something goes wrong. And second, to have that realistic picture, because both you and me being mothers, we know that it's not as rosy as we think it is, and nobody prepares us for the bitter part. Everybody just says that, okay, go ahead, it'll be okay, and go with the flow. And that's exactly the advice even I got when I had my child. But once you know that, yeah, sometimes things don't go as expected, and if you know the tools to deal with it, it definitely gets better.
So, as it just came, I would like to ask you that you spoke about the preparation part. Like, we always focus so much on till the birthing part, and then the fourth trimester is not focused at all. I
Yes.
think, yeah, at the fourth trimester, there are so many things, but one significant thing would be this breastfeeding. And how do you think mothers they can prepare themselves for their breastfeeding journeys?
Yeah. So first and foremost, one needs to understand that there is no much of prep which needs to go during pregnancy. Yes, you must visit a lactation consultant to know the know-how and have.
Arushi, it's not audible. I think
Okay, can you hear me now?
it's a bit better, but not like uh, before.
Okay, one second. I'll just check. Is it any better?
Yeah, go on. Let me see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I was
So I'll
talking
ask
about,
the audience as well. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry to interrupt, Arushi. Is she
sure.
audible? Geeta Shri Gomati. Arushi is audible to all of you? Mama's out here.
I think
Yeah.
we are
She gives a
audible.
thumbs up. Yeah, they say it's audible. Yeah, Arushi, go on.
Awesome, awesome. So I was saying, when we talk about the preparedness bit, it's important to know that, the earliest initiation is very, very important. That's one advice which I give all moms to be, that do not wait for things to start to get better. Many times, if the child is
Yeah.
not latching, or if they think that the supply is not enough, they wait that maybe with time it will get better. So that is the biggest enemy. So time is the biggest enemy. As soon as you can, you should start the process, and the other thing is about the supply, that lot many mothers think that as soon as they deliver, they try to squirt their breast to see, if they can see like a little, like a squirt coming out of the breast, which is a very big misconception. And until and unless they don't see that, they feel that, oh my God, I'm not producing enough, I don't think I'm lactating enough to feed my child. Because when they see the top feed that they can see in a bowl, which is a bowl full of top feed, but their own milk they can't see. So they start doubting themselves that, oh, I think I'm not producing enough. So in the beginning, the first and foremost important thing is that you hang in there. Okay, sometimes things don't go as expected, but whenever you gain consciousness or whenever you have your child, you should start breastfeeding. If the baby is not latching for any reason, you have to start pumping or start giving some sort of a hand expression, some sort of a stimulation to your breast, so that your supply doesn't dip.
Okay. Is there any way that during their pregnancy time that a mother can prepare herself for her breastfeeding journey? Because we know when she's a new mom, especially a first time mom, we know the breasts are very, very tender, because all these years it wasn't functioning at all, and all of a sudden it starts.
So we understand that it's very normal for any part of the body to get warmed up, isn't it? So is there anything like massaging the breasts or keeping it properly moisturized or anything like that that can ease up the process for her?
So the new research says that you can't do much of a nipple preparation, because originally we would advise that the mothers in their 9th trimester should try to shave their nipples. But the new research says that that does not really help, because when the child starts to suck on the breast, the nipples, they increase by 2 sizes. So
Okay.
you just have to allow the child to suck. But what is most important is that during pregnancy, when you visit your gynecologist, you must get your breast examined by the gynecologist, and you have to make sure that your breast has increased in its size during pregnancy.
Okay.
Because a lot many mothers, they don't see a size increase in the size in the breast during pregnancy, and then it becomes a problem in lactation.
All right. Yeah.
So that is very, very important. And do attend, as I said, preparedness is very crucial. So get as much information as possible, because as you and me both have seen, it doesn't come naturally, So our entire focus is only on getting the child out in the right way, probably having a normal delivery, or focusing on, all the clothes and everything getting perfect on the outside. But our preparation is very less in terms of what to expect when the baby is out. So that's what antenatal classes is very important. So as much as the mothers are educated and they're prepared, and they know that, okay, this is normal and this is not normal, so then they are not as panicked. Otherwise, every new mom, every time even a child burps or sneezes, they're like, oh my God, what just happened? So they need to know that what are the right parameters, what is normal and what is the warning sign. And then they can actually balance in between. So I feel that is very crucial for every new mother.
Okay. We'll assume that the mother is properly informed and she has done her ground research up to a certain level. But then when it practically comes, like when it's on the ground, whatever the knowledge she has already acquired, it's like there are more chances that she could become really, really volatile, and yeah, she could start feeling helpless, isn't it? And what would you tell the mothers about the first week of her breastfeeding journey? Like what to expect actually?
Yeah. So in the first week, you don't expect. So colostrum, the first milk, is supposed to be only in drops. So a mother does not make more than 30 in the first 20 hours. Right?
Okay.
So that is about 5 ml per feeding, which is equivalent to 1 teaspoon of milk. So in the first 3 days, you cannot expect milk in a lot of big quantities. colostrum is supposed to be in smaller quantities because at that time we are training the child how to breastfeed. All this while, when the baby was in the womb, he or she would get the food as soon as they are hungry. But suddenly they have to suck, swallow, breathe. They have to do that coordination, which is a lot of work for them. So that's why in the initial days, the breast milk is in small quantities so that the child do not choke on it, and he adapts to the process.
So first 3 days, just 5 ml of the mother's breast milk is enough for the child. Perfect.
Yes, because their size of the stomach is as good as a pea size, like the pea, the matar ka dana, which we say, that's how small it is. So you can imagine how much milk you need to fill that stomach. So it's only post the 3rd day when the mother sees the mature milk or the milk in good quantity, like to their expectations at least. So that is, but given subject to the condition that in the first 3 days they have given enough stimulation to the breast.
Okay. So in the first 3 days, we have a practice here. I think the practice is same there as well. The mother's breasts are like squeezed and then they checked if there's actually milk for the baby, right? So even if you're not able to see any milk, we can keep trusting our bodies and then continue to breastfeed for the next 3 days, right?
Yes. So that's very well. You have to trust your body. So, the biggest problem is, so there's a new terminology in our literature which says perceived insufficient milk supply, where the milk supply is not less, but we perceive it, we think it is less, and then we shift to formula. It's a natural process. You allow the child to suck on the breast as much as he wants. Breast milk digests very quickly, so there is a possibility that they'll demand more frequently. That does not mean that your supply is less. And make sure that you're keeping a close watch on the diaper output. So if the child is small, he or she needs to poop at least 6 to 7 times a day after the 2nd or 3rd.
It's peeing or pooping? Like
Peeing.
peeing 5 to 6 times
a day. And then slowly and steadily, the meconium, the black tarry stool, should change its color to that mustard seedy color after the 2nd day.
Poop.
Yeah, the poo. So these parameters will help you decide that if I'm feeding the child enough or not.
So not like pressing the breast and all.
Not at all. So,
at all.
Yeah, because
so we can actually make sure that the child is getting what it needs by checking on the pee output. Like it should be 6 plus times at least. So if the baby is peeing 6 plus times, then I'm done. Like no self doubts and nothing to worry, right? Yeah. That's very, very important.
Correct.
So in the first week, is it normal for the mother to experience sore breasts, sore nipples, I mean?
So engorgement, that is like, when your breast starts to feel heavy, is normal. That we call the primary engorgement, because the breasts are preparing for lactation. But soreness is not something, it might be in the beginning if the breasts are not used to the whole sucking action. But otherwise, most of the times, if the nipples are sore, it's because of a shallow latch.
Shadow latch, yeah.
Yeah. So lot of time mothers, again, this is also which I need to reiterate, is that breastfeeding is never painful. Because I've seen a lot of mothers and mother-in-laws telling that, no, this is normal. It is okay to feel the pain, So just to reconfirm and reiterate, breastfeeding is never painful. So if any part of the process is creating any kind of discomfort, it is your body's way to tell you that something is not right.
So I'm asking this again just to reconfirm on the sentence. You mean not even in the initial days that the breastfeeding is painful?
So if the nipples are slightly sore, as I said, sometimes they take a day just to get used to the child sucking. But it should on its own get better in a day's time. So that is it. But it's not very, very painful.
So if there is any discomfort, then the next checkpoint should be the latch. So I'm just, because most of us, especially the first time mothers, we don't know, because we get to hear that it's okay, it gets better, but the important thing is that breastfeeding as such is not painful at all. The first day, maybe, since your breasts are not used to it, there could be a little soreness, but it should get automatically better the next day or the next to next day, and it should be completely painless. If we are still experiencing the pain, then there should be something wrong with the latch. It could be the problem of shallow latch, isn't it, Arushi?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
So, one more common question is that can we lie down and breastfeed the baby, the
Yes,
newborn?
totally. Definitely. So only thing is that why we do not, we do not emphasize on lying down position in the beginning days, because the mother has to get confident in holding the baby. When you're feeding in a lying down position and the mother is unable to see the child, and she's unable to control the baby. Like, so in the beginning, when you're feeding the child, holding the child confidently is very, very important. And being a new mom, it's something which they're also learning, over time. So I always suggest that lying down does no harm, but I only tell mother to get there once they're confident with their child, because then they can see their child, then they know what's happening, and breastfeeding is established. So in the beginning, in the hospital, if the mother is having some sort of discomfort, especially in cesarean, when they can't sit every time to feed, I always advise that there has to be somebody overlooking them, overseeing both the mother and child. Don't just leave them unattended, because the baby is also very small and the mother is also very new with the baby. So in the beginning, especially when you're in the hospital, it's always advised that if you have to feed side lying, make sure there is somebody watching both the mother and the baby. Over a period, once they get confident with the process, is when she can aram se feed lying down. It does no harm.
So, laid back positions or the side lying positions, everything you recommend on under the supervision of someone.
So
in the
laid
beginning
back
days.
position, no, because laid back position is only when the baby is kept vertically on the mother's abdomen, but that's when the mother can see the child, But when you're doing side lying, you can't see the baby very well, So that's the only reason. But laid back position is a great position to start with, because, because of the whole gravity, the child is given that stability and the baby is held well. So in the beginning, that laid back position, we call it biological nurturing. So it's absolutely good and it's absolutely safe to do that. So either you do the laid back position or the cradle hold or the cross cradle, either of these positions should help. And over a period, you can shift to side lying.
Great. Okay. So, apart from sore nipples and the other breastfeeding issues, is there any food that is not advised for a new mom to take? Maybe it would affect the supply.
Yeah. So first and foremost, one needs to understand that we are eating right for your own health.
Just a second, Arushi. I'm so sorry. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So, whatever you're eating for your own health, Milk supply will be anyway, milk will be anyway made, but at the cost of your own reserves. It doesn't matter if you're eating or if you're not eating. In India, we see a lot of beggars feeding their children on the road, and we don't even know if they've gotten 2 square meals, But the body is making enough milk. But if the mother is not eating right, then she will start having weaknesses. She will start having deficiencies. So eating right is very crucial for the mother.
So it's such an intelligent design by nature, isn't it? Even if the mother isn't getting anything, the child is getting whatever it needs. At least the basic nutritions are going on. The only thing is that whether it's getting depleted from the mother or the mother is reserving her nutrition's right is the question. It's not about the baby at all, isn't it?
Not at all. And all the pre-pregnancy weight which you put on, all the fat, that goes in making the milk, So all the mothers who are stressed about going back to pre-pregnancy size, breastfeeding is the best way to lose weight, because all your fat stores are getting burned to make that milk.
So I had this in my mind because a lot of times we talk about how breastfeeding is good for baby, how it is beneficial for baby, but we don't talk about, is it really beneficial for moms? Is it good for moms as well? How about her health?
Yeah. So this is one factor which resonates with mother that it's the easiest way to lose all your abdomen fat and all the weight you had put on during pregnancy, because as I said that the body starts using the fat reserves, and it's the healthiest way to lose weight because then you don't very easily put on the weight. So that's one of the 10 factors which benefits the mother. Some of the factors are that when you start feeding your child immediately after delivery, you also reduces the postpartum bleeding. So as soon as the baby starts to suck on the breast, the uterus starts to contract, and because of which it very easily goes to its old pre-pregnancy size, and also it reduces the bleeding postpartum. So that is something which is very, very important. So while I'm talking all this, we are again and again highlighting on the fact that nature has made everything very beautifully, and there is a reason why something is made in a certain way. And every little process, when we sit and bifurcate and go dig deep into it, we realize that it has some other benefit which we didn't even think. So that's why I say that breastfeeding is just not about milk. It's much, much more than just milk. The whole act of breastfeeding is so important for both mom and baby, because as soon as the mother delivers, it's not naturally that she starts connecting with the child. It's only when you start holding the baby, it's only when the baby touches your skin is when you start getting those feelings. And in today's era, it is very easy for a mother to start losing her confidence as a mother. I just finished a call before this session where my entire focus was only boosting the confidence of a mother, saying that she's not a bad mom. And as soon as something doesn't go right, we start judging ourselves that, oh, we are not one of the best moms. And so that's why I keep saying breastfeeding is important for your child, but it's more important for the mother, for her confidence as a mother, because it starts to take a toll on her confidence if she's unable to do it. And if and then over a period that guilt creeps in, that why I could not feed my child. So to save her from that guilt and regret, I feel it's so important that if a mother chooses to breastfeed, she should be able to.
Right. So you rightly also said if the mother chooses to.
Yes, very, very. It's a choice. I always say that it's a choice which a mother makes, and whether you feed or you don't breastfeed, you are never less of a mother. Nobody can substitute you. You are the world for your child. So don't judge yourself on this cadre for sure.
So we've got a few questions from the mothers here. Indumati has asked, sitting and carrying the baby whole night after a C-section can cause harm to the mother. She's asking if...
Yeah, so when you're sitting, that's why I said that in the beginning, especially for mothers who've had a cesarean birth, you must take it easy and you should start feeding lying down, but make sure under supervision. Because you two are important for us, and yes, it can get difficult for mother to keep sitting every 2 hours, 2.5 hours to feed the baby, but it's only the first 3 days which is a challenge. Post that, stitches should not be a problem.
So there's one more question from Purni asking, can you explain about pumping and storage of breast milk? I think it's a very vast topic to discuss on a live session, but do you recommend any resources as in like YouTube videos or the blogs she can go through?
I'll share some links with you, but the very basics is that for storing, I always say there's a rule of 3. So in the room temperature, you can keep for 3 hours. In the fridge, you can keep for 3 days. And in the freezer, you can keep for 3 months. So that is the very basic guidelines for storing of milk. For pumping, just make sure again that pumping is not leading to discomfort, because that again will dip your supply. So that is again the simplest guideline to know if you're going right or not right. So if you follow these two, it should help you. Otherwise, I'll share some resources for you to share to the mothers, and they can look into it.
Sure. So there's one question from Indumati asking, does pumping reduce milk secretion?
No. So if pumping is done, yes, if it is done rightly, it will not dip your supply. Definitely your breast will be, it reacts differently to a child suck than to a pump. because when you're holding the baby, there are many more stimulations that are happening. And obviously that whole motherly instinct doesn't come with a pump. But there are a lot of mothers who are exclusively pumping and feeding. So if you're doing it the right way, it will not reduce and on the contrary, it will at least help your baby the breast milk.
This is from Loganagi. I had breast pain one side and feeling heat surrounding the breast. I went for checkup and they said it's nothing, no proper strength in nerves, and then they gave vitamin tablets. Is that anything that I have to look into on this issue?
I need more history to be able to advise on that, because it's not complete, the information. So definitely something is not right, but what is the underlying cause, I will only be able to help if I know the history of the whole breastfeeding journey and the mother.
Yeah, maybe she can. You're available for appointments as well, isn't it, Arushi?
Yeah.
You take up online consultations.
Yes, I do.
So someone has asked if we smell flowers, does it affect milk secretion?
Smell
many-
flowers.
Yeah, because there are these things where they say if you smell jasmine, or there are so many flowers that if you smell them, then your supply takes a dip.
Takes a dip.
Yeah, it takes a dip actually. That's what they say. There are some myths. I think it's a myth, and
So I'll
I
just
need
tell you
to
the logic behind it. So basically, sage and peppermint are two herbs which leads to a dip in the supply, but it's not just smelling, but consuming in good quantities. But if she's talking about boosting the supply, then the science behind it is that, if anything, any kind of fragrance calms you down, because obviously these are some stimulations, all our senses reach to the brain, right? So if it calms us down, then it will lead to a boost in the supply, because your supply has a direct connection with your stress levels. So the same part of the brain which releases the milk hormone is the same part which releases a stress hormone. So at one point it can only release one hormone. So anything. So that's why for the mother who was asking about pumping, we always recommend that you smell your baby's blanket, or you look at your baby's picture, like some cue for you to start feeling that motherly love within. And that will help in boosting the supply. So if any fragrance or anything which can calm you down or, make you feel better, will have a direct effect on the supply. So probably that is the connection. Not that my literature supports anything, but if there isn't, I always believe in our old age culture and, our things. I think that is where it's coming from. So yeah.
So there's one more question asking, can you please give advice about forceful letdown? So
Yeah. So if the letdown, so firstly, body takes about 40 days to calibrate as per the need of the child. So please hang in there if you haven't completed the 40 days. And the easiest way to deal with forceful letdown is that you hand express the first milk injection.
that we hand express the first
milk injection.
It's for a few minutes or few seconds, and how do we know that it's done?
Few minutes. So the milk never comes in the form of a tap, it's in the form of sprays, So if you ever hand express or pump, you will say that there is one spray, then it's pauses, then there's another spray. So the first spray is what you have to hand express and then feed the baby, because that is the strongest. So then the child will not choke because of the forceful letdown.
So it's just the first spray.
Yes.
Once it's done, then we can hold the baby and we can start breastfeeding like normally.
Like normal.
All right. So there is a question from Meghna asking, when I start feeding, I'm feeling pain for 1 to 2 minutes. When he starts latching, and I'm not feeling that pain after a minute.
So there are multiple reasons to it. Just check again if the nipples have gone sore, then sometimes latching can become painful. But as the child starts to suck, the pain goes. So just see it first and the foremost, get your latch checked, that the latch is fine, because most common reason for any sort of pain is latching issues. So get your latch checked and see that is not a cause of worry. And after that, you will see that pain will automatically reduce as soon as you correct your latch.
So talking about latch, I think it's a very vast and very important area because all of us, at least in the beginning weeks, we only do the surface level latching. It's the
Yeah.
latches are not deep enough. So, is there any tip or trick that you would like to give to mothers, like,
Um,
or any idea? Yeah.
the first foremost for every mother is get confident in holding the baby, because positioning the child right is the first step to the right latch. So most of the time, because we are so scared to hold the baby, we just put them on some feeding pillow and then we are adjusting ourselves to feed, or we don't know how to hold them. So if the baby starts crying, you just somehow try to put the breast in the baby's mouth, that somehow you be quiet. So because of that, the latch becomes shallow and the child gets used to taking in a certain way and you get used to feeding in the wrong way. So for every mother who delivers, their biggest homework is to start holding the child more frequently and get confident in holding the baby, because the first step to breastfeeding is confidence in you to hold the baby towards your child. So once you have that confidence, you can very easily then maneuver and figure out if everything is fine or not.
Also, it shouldn't only be the nipples that go into the mouth of the baby, isn't it? It should be the entire areola.
Yeah, a
Is that
good part of the areola, the size of the areola keeps varying. So a good part of the areola, not just the nipple, is what we are looking at.
Mohan Babu Monisha, she's asking, can you please tell about the foods that will improve milk supply?
So generally in our Indian kitchens, we find these few things. One is cumin seeds, fenugreek seeds, fennel, oats. These are some of the food which helps in boosting the supply. Now, having said that, you have to make sure that you're eating these food consistently over a period of time to see the results. It's no magic that you just have a spoonful of it and you see the results. So have it consistently for a week, 10 days to see the results on your milk supply.
So it can be soaked overnight and had like
Yeah.
fenugreek seeds.
Yeah. So
Cumin
fenugreek
seeds it can
seeds.
just be added to the food.
Yeah. Yeah, so cumin seeds, both cumin and fenugreek seeds can be soaked overnight in the water, and both the water and the seeds can be had. At least it's advised to have twice a day to start seeing the effect. And other than that, oats is a very healthy way of healthy breakfast, so one can incorporate that in their meals. And fennel, we anyway use just as a aftermouth or like a refreshment thing, so that can be used then.
So, can breastfeeding mothers consume cow's milk? Will it cause colic pain to babies? Yeah, I think this is the major part. Like, whenever the baby is feeling colicky, it's always on the mother. Like, you had something wrong and you
Yes,
had,
but
yeah.
it's not wrong. It's absolutely right, because a part of what we eat, especially the proteins, they enter the milk and that can cause irritation in the baby's gut. So cow's milk and milk products are the biggest allergen. In India, we have this whole concept that you have to drink more milk to be able to produce more milk. But the new research says that they are the biggest culprit. So yes, if your baby is colicky and very, very gassy, it is advised that you avoid milk and milk products for at least a week to start seeing its results.
So it's only about the milk and milk products. It's not about dal or it's not about some type of green leafy vegetables. Is it true? Do you think it's true that the food that the mother takes, apart from the dairy products, the food that she takes would make the baby colicky or
Yes.
would play
Yes.
any role in making the baby colicky?
Yes, it's quite possible, because every child reacts differently to different food. So in the beginning, that's why it's always recommended that mothers go by elimination diet. So if the child is suddenly being fussy or colicky or gassy, you just check your diet to see that what is the new thing that you've introduced, and and then eliminate it for at least 3 to 4 days to see if your child is better. So
So yeah, does
also
it mean that she has to avoid those foods like throughout her breastfeeding
no,
journey, or she can keep trying
she
maybe
should keep
once in
trying. Yeah, because as the baby grows, the gut matures and they are more adaptable to different kind of. So you just need to avoid it's, and these issues are more just in the beginning. Like these are called the teething issues, just in the beginning 3 months. But as the baby grows and the gut matures, then he or she gets more adaptable to whatever food is offered. So these issues are only in the beginning. So then you reintroduce that food and see if your child is now adapting it, and then you can easily eat it. So over a period, the mother is free to eat everything. These problems do exist only in the beginning when the baby is really small and all his systems are very, very immature.
So approximately till 3 months we can say.
Yeah, so that's a
100.
yeah. So that's an approximate number, but again, it varies from child to child.
Okay. So Shruti has asked how to increase breast milk.
Feed your child on demand. If you're feeding your baby looking at the clock, that's one of the major reasons why you see a dip in your supply. So feed your child on demand, because it's all the science of demand and supply. The more milk is removed, the more milk will be made. So the more you feed the baby, the more milk will be made. That's like, and it everything that you eat or you don't eat, at the end, it's the removal of milk that will help in boosting the supply.
So Arushi, now, since this came up, I would like to ask, in our households, I mean, a lot of times it's being pointed out that, see, the baby is asking very frequently for feeds, though he or she is not getting any milk. I always feel that even this works on the supply demand technique only, because the baby has got whatever she needs, and then maybe the baby's body requires more than what the mother's body is producing. So the baby is giving signal to the mother's body by sucking even after the feed is over. Yeah, asking the mother's body to, you please produce more because I need more. So
Yes.
that is the reason maybe the baby is sucking for longer hours, which we misinterpret like the baby needs more, but the mother's body is not making that milk.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Because in the beginning, that's one of the major reasons for cluster feeding. Because the child is trying to, it's like a machinery that's being laid in your body, right? So the child is trying to lay the foundation very strong. That the more the child is sucking, the more receptors are formed in the body, and the more message is going to the brain that yes, I need more milk. And that's how stronger the factory is, and that supply will stay with you till you choose to feed your child, which could be up to 2 years or 7 years, whatever the mother chooses to. So that's absolutely right and spot on what you have said, that it is just naturally the child's way to increase the supply and boost the supply, so that going forward you don't issue this milk supply, you don't face these milk supply issues.
So as such, the design is perfect. As such, the design is excellent. That's where we drop in and then we say the baby is not getting enough. Can we please start introducing formula? That's the major part. That's the major trap maybe we could possibly fall into, right? Where the
Yes.
baby is cluster feeding and the baby is demanding for a longer time of feed even after the milk is over. That's when even the mother starts doubting herself, like there's
Yeah.
nothing coming, but then why is the baby still latching on?
Yes.
Then,
Yes.
yeah. Now she has to be sure that, okay, just wait, let me pause. The baby is actually talking to my body and passing the signals to my body. Let me not disturb. Yeah.
Yes.
That
Yes.
chance
Yes.
we should be taking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's so well said, because it's the way the mom and the child are communicating, it's just a very beautiful way of communicating with your baby, and your baby communicating with you, because obviously you can't talk with your child like how you and me are talking, right? So it's this process has been designed in such a way that that's how a mother is communicating to the baby, that okay, I love you, and I am ready to protect you in every possible way, and the child reciprocating, saying that yes, I feel that I am protected and I love you back. So it's just a very beautiful way of communication, and that if mother starts to understand that, then they won't give too much importance to the technicality bit of it. When we are thinking too technical, we are losing the beauty of the process. Then we are just talking about the supply and the quantity and the duration and the frequency, which are also important. But if you don't enjoy the process, then sooner or later you want to give up. So
So,
if you know, yeah,
is it true that there could be a certain percentage of mothers who will not actually produce any breast milk?
Yeah, so that's when I had said that the increasing of breast size during pregnancy is very, very important. So there are cases of lactation failure, but in most of the cases, the mother did not have an increase in the breast size during pregnancy. So then it becomes like I had a patient who was a family friend and who kept calling me, and I kept thinking that the mother is not determined enough to feed the baby. The whole family kept blaming her that, okay, she doesn't want to do it. But when I went down and looked at her history, I realized that she didn't have any increase in the breast size during pregnancy, and there was a lot of hormonal imbalances because of which she was not producing any milk. So it is very unfair on those mothers because all that pressure is on them to feed the child where genuinely she can't. So we need to rule out those possibilities as well, that it's absolutely okay. And as I said, that even if you're not able to breastfeed does not mean that you love your child any less. So there are such cases, and we have to make sure that the mothers know, the family knows, so that the mother doesn't go through that guilt that she did not give her best.
So the mother, she can't know that by herself, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
is it possible, or she has to seek the help of a lactation consultant or a doctor or a guide,
Yes.
someone who can
Yes.
check this for her and let her know?
Yes, definitely.
So even if you're going to conclude that I'm not producing any milk, it's not honest to conclude. So, right.
It's right. It's absolutely
But
possible. There is a possibility. The possibility is less, but there is a possibility.
better not to take the decision, because even if there is any possibility, then we can't take the decision by ourselves, because we don't know if that's the case or not. So it's always better to take the other side, like go positive and try till the end. If there is actually an option, then the gynec or the lactation consultant, someone will let us know that it's not being possible.
Yeah.
uh, I think I'm missing some questions here. Okay, uh, Jananeshwari, she's asked, ma'am, only dairy product can cause colic?
No, it's one of the most common food product. Other than that, you have nuts, fish, wheat, soy. So these are other common allergens. But again, as I said, it varies from child to child. So be wary of what you're eating, because your child will differently react to it. So these are some of the most common allergens. But if you have a history of food allergy in your family, then you should definitely take care of it more closely.
Purni has asked, should a breastfeeding mother consume pal sura on daily basis? Can she consume it on daily basis to increase the breast milk? She's
What
asked
is
shark fish.
shark fish? No. Shark fish is really high in mercury. So all the fishes which are high in mercury are supposed to be avoided, because that will affect the baby. So that's why I said these fishes, they are again a cause of allergy. So all the fishes which are high, I'm a vegetarian, so I don't know much, but shellfish, sharkfish, these are some of the fishes which are very high in mercury. So those fishes should be avoided, because that will harm the baby.
Okay. Now I'm not sure whether there is this fish called pal sura, which is given to the lactating mothers, but I'm not sure if it's the shark. Maybe it's a different fish, or I'm not sure of that.
Correct. So
Is
whatever
there
the
any
baby,
way? I'm sorry, yeah. Is there any way to assess whether breast is empty or full?
breast is
Akanksha.
breast is never empty. So don't, the child in one feeding does not take more than 60% of the milk. So don't be fearful that, oh, now that my child has had his feed, my breast will be completely empty. So as I said, breast is never completely empty. Here, it's not the concept of warehouse that some milk is stored, once taken, then there'll be nothing. So don't worry about it. Just feed on demand, trust your body, and naturally you will be guided as to what is right and what's not right.
Santhya has asked, okay, what to do when the BM taste changes and the baby is on nursing strike? Baby is 4.5 months old.
So why is the baby on nursing strike is what first we need to address, because obviously the child is on nursing. nursing strike is basically a child's way to tell the mother that I am angry with you or I'm disappointed. And this generally happens if the mother chooses to leave the baby or does something which the child doesn't like. So one needs to know why is the baby on a nursing strike first, address to that cause. And now that you've brought this up, we all know that children are not so foolish. You know, they have their own ways to communicate and tell, and they're high on emotions, you know. So do not underestimate their emotional power and value. So to this mother, first find the underlying cause of the nursing strike.
Is it true that during periods our breast milk taste might change and there could be a dip in mother's supply due to the hormonal changes? And
Yes, it happens. There's a slight dip, but it's nothing to worry because the child compensates by, you know, taking more frequently. So it could be a slight dip because of the whole hormonal change in the body, but it goes back to normal. So generally, if the mother is exclusively breastfeeding, the periods are anyway delayed, you know, for a very long time. And
yeah,
even if they
in the
get
design you see.
yeah, so that it's a natural contraception, you know, so contraceptive, sorry. So again,
It's
but yeah, so it's a natural way. But if you get your periods back, there's nothing to worry. Just keep feeding on demand, it will automatically boost back, you know, as the hormonals are balanced. So nothing to worry is all I want to say.
I think it's more than 45 minutes, like more than what we had planned actually, and there are many questions. I think we'll take the last two and then we'll keep the rest of the questions maybe for the future sessions or the workshops. And what do you say, Arishi?
Yeah, I mean, we are now focusing on small like, you know, small group workshops, because I feel that mothers, they learn so much better from each other's experience, and when they hear other mothers, they realize that we are not alone, you know. And they become like small peer group, because for breastfeeding and motherhood, I feel a very strong community is very, very important, because it's very natural for you to have those little roadblocks and little bumps. And if you get someone whom you can just pour your heart out, it just becomes easier and better, you know. So we are coming up with very small work, like small group workshop, where we don't have more than 10 mothers, and it's going to be an interactive session where we, you know, understand their journey, and then with each person's experience, you get to learn so much. So whoever is interested, they can get in touch with you or me. We'll be happy to get them one of those workshops.
Definitely, definitely. So you'll be giving us the link, I hope. So we'll be
Yes.
planning the dates and the times and then we can, yeah. So the last two questions. So flower smells affected by milk secretion, please tell me. I think what she means is that smelling of flowers, does it affect milk secretion? Please explain. I think I've already answered that question. So one more is, I was able to pump more previously, but now it is reduced. How can I take care of it?
First, check your stress levels, because stress is the biggest inhibitor for a good milk supply. So make sure that, you know, you check your stress and see that you are not worked up about anything. And so first and foremost, that is what every mother who thinks that her supply has dipped needs to check.
And one last question is that does gestational diabetes it affects the milk supply?
Not much, because again, you know, diabetes is to do with hormones. So technically, gestation diabetes, it sort of takes care of itself once the mother delivers, but she is no more diabetic. So it doesn't affect the supply. On the contrary, if the mother is feeding the baby, she reduces her chances of having type 2 diabetes in the future. Also, the child also has a reduced probability of being diabetic in the future. So for all the mothers who have diabetes or gestation, any form of diabetes in their history, breastfeeding becomes more important so that they avoid further complications for themselves and the baby. Because as soon as you start to feed the baby, the insulin levels get balanced in the body. And then many mothers, they don't need those insulin injections. So that's how you know, the whole nature wants to support the process, that it's sort of. And one more thing that we brought up, I really want to share with everyone, is that when the mother gets pregnant, you know, sometimes things like cancer also goes into a dormant stage.
What is that?
So that
The
means that
take the pause.
yes, it takes a pause. So as soon as you conceive, the entire body's entire energy goes to nurturing that. So all that is going wrong in the body, it pauses.
How amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's just
Amazing.
like I also read it. I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. So a lot of mothers, they start to feel so healthy suddenly, and where they haven't felt so good in so many days because of their medical ailment. That baby is not just a blessing to the baby, but to the mother also, because it's like a new birth, and so many such things. So a lot of times when you become pregnant, all the hormonal imbalances sort of start to balance out itself. So lot of mothers, they have recovered from quite many medical ailments as soon as they deliver their baby. So
That's
that's
because
how
nature,
powerful.
yeah,
Yeah.
because nature wants the mother to be, I mean, better supported and be in better health, because only then she can take care of the baby. Because according to
Yeah.
nature, the next generation is always important. So you please take care of the baby till the baby gets independent. Then you can do whatever you want with the body, is what the nature,
Yeah.
at least for the few years. And yeah, it's like the nature saying it's my responsibility now to keep you good and healthy, at least for
Yes.
the next few years, so that we can preserve the baby and we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
amazing, isn't it?
yeah, and it's so that's the reason why. So to all the viewers who are watching, you just remember that you're in such safe hands, because all the forces around you are working so that you and your baby are healthy. So any issues that you're facing is more in your mind. And now after the session, if something resonated within you, just make sure that you start enjoying the process. Start enjoying motherhood. Stop trying to make things perfect for yourself and for your baby, because everything else will fall in place. So make sure you have a great time with your baby, and trust me, you will start to see magic around.
Thank you so much, Arshi, for your time. One thing that I've always wondered is how beautifully I've always been able to bridge the traditional practices that has been going on there for ages and the modern technical resources that we get access to. It's not only this side or either that side. It's always the bridge that's more powerful, and it's like the beautiful, amazing answers that you were able to give for the tricky questions that we have all had, because this colicky baby, gassy baby, or the questions on those areas, it's always been trickier to how to look into it, isn't it? So tradition is, yeah, it's a huge resource which can't be denied completely. And
Not at
yeah,
all.
modern technicalities are the blessings that we have got in the recent times. So how we have been able to beautifully bridge them is the greatest thing that I'm seeing in you, and all the very best. Thank you so much for your time and your very patient answers. So we'll
Thank
very
you so
soon.
much for this opportunity. It was my pleasure to have this workshop and to interact with you, and wishing you all the luck with your vision also for your company Root and Soil, which is doing beautifully well in this field. And it's your products is just a way of your way of showing love for everybody around. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Arya. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.